Time now being 6 o'clock, at this time we will call this meeting to order. This being the October meeting of the Dawson County Planning Commission. We'd like to begin with invocation from Emery Dooley, if you would, please, Emery.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and we thank you for all the blessings that you've given us, Lord. And we just ask for your wisdom and discernment as we try to do what's best for Dawson County, Lord. And we just ask that in all things that we do, Lord, that we just glorify you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. This time we'll have a roll call. Ms. Harmony, when you're ready. And the records will show that there's 4 of us in attendance, Tim Bennett not being here tonight. Under announcements, there will be a planning commission meeting November the 17th, 2020, 6 o'clock, same location. Gentlemen, I assume you've had opportunity to go over the minutes from last meeting. Is there any amendments to be made to last meeting's minutes? If not, is there a motion to adopt as presented by staff?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor? And the motion is carried 4-0. The agenda that's presented before you tonight, assume you've also had opportunity to look over it. Is there any amendments? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented by staff?
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Moving second, all in favor? Motion is carried. If you're here tonight to speak either in favor or in opposition of any application and you have given more than $250 to any local official campaign, there's a form that will need to be filled out, and Harmony has it up here at the desk. Under old business, we'll begin with Fox Creek Properties. And if you'll turn to your third page in your agenda, you will note that Fox Creek has sent, we would like to officially request an additional 30-day postponement of the Planning Commission hearing on October 20th to be heard on the next hearing date as of November the 17th, 2020. This is dated and sent Thursday, October the 8th. They're requesting to be postponed or tabled until our November meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to table it to the November 17th meeting.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor? Motion is carried 4-0. Under new business, we'll begin with application for variance. VR 20-19, Ken Pawlowski is requesting to vary from the Dawson County Land Use Resolution, Article 3, Section 309C3, front and rear setback reductions, required 20 and 40 foot for the construction of a primary residence, tax map parcel L17-063, which is 88 Sunrise Drive, Athens Boat Club. Is someone here to present this variance? If you would, please come forward up to the podium here. When you get to the podium, you're going to find a piece of paper and an ink pen. If you would, please write your name and address on that piece of paper. Sure. And if you would, please state your name for the record.
Ken Pawlowski.
I didn't mess it up too bad. So
No,
that's
you
good.
did it perfect, actually.
Good, good. And if you would just give us a brief presentation as to why you need a variance.
Yes, so this is within Athens Boat Club, and we're planning on building a 2-bedroom home, one that we can move to permanently. And the lot size is, they're a little smaller, so this home is going to be 2,600 square feet. And to fit what we're looking to build in there is going to require a setback variance from the front and back. So our intent is to build a home there, live closer to our family.
And there's currently a residence on there now, is that correct?
Yeah, there's a trailer with a little add-on on it. Yeah.
Okay. You're going to remove it
Yes, sir. Yeah, we
Okay.
plan on taking that down, replacing everything there.
on essentially the same footpad, or you going to move it?
The trailer and everything will be gone. We have to kind of build a whole new foundation. So that will stretch into the front. So it's just the garage that encroaches on the front a little bit.
Right.
And I think the deck actually pokes into the back a little.
Okay.
That's what's happening.
Any other questions to the applicant? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, at this time, we'll close it to the board for discussion. Gentlemen, any discussion on this variance?
No.
Is there a motion?
Motion. Go ahead.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Move in a second. All in favor? Motion is carried. 3-0. Since you're just forward tonight, I ain't gonna vote unless I need to. I hate to put us into a tie at all, so. VR 20-20, Greg Scott is requesting to vary from the Dawson County Land Use Resolution, Article 3, Section 309C3, front setback reduction. Required 40-foot to 20-foot for the construction of a primary residence, tax map parcel L21-008, Lakewood Drive. Someone here to speak and present this, Mr. Greg Scott. If you would, please come forward. At the podium, you'll find a piece of paper and a pen. Please write your name and address on it. Additionally, for our records, please state your name.
Greg Scott.
And could you give us a brief presentation as to why you're requesting a variance?
I'm here for Ike and Jenny Stippick. And they had a house that was built in the 1960s on the lake, and it become deteriorated, so they want to take it down. And we had a soil test done for the new septic tank because the existing septic tank was on the Corps of Engineers in the lines. So we had some bad soils on the back side, left side, so we want to tilt the house around and put all the septic on the left side. So they're at the end of a dead end road that is a private road. There's 12 other houses on that road. And I think some of them have got some variances that went from 40 foot to 12 foot.
And I'm assuming the Corps of Engineer won't let you put another septic tank on their,
No.
on their property again?
No.
Didn't think so. Any other questions to the applicant? Thank you, Mr. Scott. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, at this time, we'll close it to the board for discussion. Gentlemen, do you have any discussion on this variance from 40 foot to 20 foot? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve variance.
Motion to approve. All in favor? Motion is carried 3-0 with one abstention. You have your variance, Mr. Scott. VR 20-21, Dawson Forest Partners, Georgia LLC is requesting to vary from the Dawson County Land Use Resolution, Article 3, Section 314, L 1, 2, and 3, regarding roads and utilities in residential planned communities. Tax map parcel 087-001, Dawson Forest Road. Is someone here to present for Dawson Forest Partners? If you would, please come forward. Write your name and address on the piece of paper that's there on the podium. Additionally, for the record, would you please state your name?
Ryan Walker.
And if you would give us a brief presentation as to why you're requesting a variance.
I'm with Dawson Forest Partners, GA LLC, and we're seeking a variance request to change. We're about to start the new development of a subdivision, a single family detached. And under the current zoning requirements, all interior roads must be private. And we're looking to apply for a variance request to change that from private to public. As we have seen in our previous developments, the HOA faces many challenges upkeeping and maintaining these private roads, and it eventually gets turned over to the county. So we want to address this on the front end, so there's no problems later down the road.
Okay. Generally, for a variance, there's a hardship reason? Can you express your hardship as to why you're requesting a variance?
Just the HOA, the challenges they face and the financial constraints that go along with maintaining development infrastructure.
Okay. And how many houses are you looking to put up in this?
288.
Be 288 homes with a homeowner association of those 288 homes. Okay. Any further questions to the applicant on this variance? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? If you would, please come forward, write your name and address on the piece of paper that's there on the podium.
I think that was an excellent point that was brought up as far as turning roads over to the county and turning it over to the taxpayers to maintain. If the HOA is going to have difficulty maintaining those roads, certainly the county and us taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill. So this is obviously something that was thought through at the beginning in the planning stage, was something that the developers had taken on, and the HOA simply walking away from that obligation to stick the taxpayers with the bill is unacceptable. I'm urging you to disapprove this.
Could get your name stated verbally.
Bruce Gunsel.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. Write your name and address on the piece of paper there on the podium. Additionally, if you would, please state your name.
Ken Ruffner. I live on Paddock Place off Dawson Forest Road. I want to reference a few other developments. The main one I'm here about is 20-18, but I also want to reference ZA 19-19, 20-08, 20-07, 19-16, and 19-15. And I looked at all these today, and I've been living on Dawson Forest Road for 20 years. And I look at these and I see all this high density, all these high density homes going here. You're just packing them in there, you know, one after another. And I've seen what's already been built, Mancy Park or Muncie Park, whatever it is, and the other one off there off Red Rider. And I see these apartment complexes going in. And I look at this and I see, you know, 105 single family homes, 117 townhomes, 300 multi-family units, 941 lots, mixed use, hotels, convention centers, 140 townhomes on 5.9 units per acre. Mixed use development with 1,447 units. I'm really concerned about the quality of life we have here in Dawson County. I don't think these developers give a hoot about it. I think what they're concerned with, the only thing they're concerned with is putting the dollars in their pockets. The one, this here 20-18, which is further on the agenda, will put 183 home sites directly behind my home. I have 1.43 acres with a 2,000 square foot ranch on a full basement with another 1,500 square feet finished in the basement. And they're going to put in homes 1,200 to 1,600 square feet. Our infrastructure is going to be overloaded. Our schools are going to be overloaded. And I know this is, you know, they're going to increase the tax base somewhat, but I don't think it's going to come near covering the cost of what the rest of us are going to wind up having to deal with. Dawson Forest Road, I hope y'all are planning on widening it to 4 or 5 lanes, because with everything I mentioned, and I'm sure there's more I haven't seen, Traffic's gonna be horrendous. I already have trouble getting out of my street some days, and I don't see it getting any better.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else speak in opposition to the application? Is there anyone else speaking in opposition to the application? Seeing none at this time, we'll close the board for discussion.
Question for staff. This development's already been approved, correct?
Correct.
As far as maintenance of the road system, it is stipulated that it would be built to county standards.
Yes, any new development has to be built to county standards, and our Public Works Department will see to it that it is.
As far as this development being originally submitted to be a private road system, when it went through the first time, is there any other subdivisions like this that are public road or private road is to have a comparison to?
Yes, there is other examples of neighborhoods within RPC that have county maintained roads in them.
Okay.
But they probably were built before we put in the stipulation, or not stipulation, but in our land use resolutions, the fact that they should be county, or they should not be county maintained, they should be privately maintained. And if I may add to that, any road that is brought up to standards still has to be accepted by the Board of Commissioners. So approving this variance doesn't guarantee the fact, or the applicant these roads can be turned over to the county at the end. It still have to come back to approval. Granting this variance would just allow them to apply for that, for them to be accepted.
But you currently have a stipulation that basically states that new developments of this type would be a private road.
In the RPZ zoning classification, it says that all roads are to be privately maintained, yes.
And to me, that's one of the benefits that the county gets by allowing them to concentrate the homes so much as not to have to pay for the road. So that's, when we looked at it before, that was one of the things that I looked at, that we wouldn't want to be paying for them.
Mm-hmm.
By being RPC, they get certain amenities, so to speak.
Right.
They have the ability close to their homes. If they have areas that are wetlands or whatever the case may be, not close to your homes. But it's always been, if you're an RPC, you privately maintain your roads. You're getting a break on several things. You're clustering all your homes anyway. So sell it at a price point that would pay for your roads is the way we've always looked at it in the past. But this is a new case and it's before you tonight. So any further discussion? Is there a motion?
Motion to deny the variant.
Second.
Moving a second to deny the variance. All in favor? So your variance is denied. You may appeal to the Board of Commissioners if you so desire to do so. Under ZA zoning 20-15, Arquim Velasquez is requesting to rezone tax map parcel L15-116-009 from RA to commercial highway intensive for the purpose of opening a landscape supply, Georgia 53 East. Is someone here to speak for this zoning? If you would please come forward, sign your name and address on the piece of paper there on the podium. In addition, please state your name.
Joe Anderson. Joe Anderson.
And if you would please give a brief presentation of your desire to rezone this property.
All right, Akeem can't be here tonight, so I told him I'd come in and speak for him, but he has a business license with the county called the Masters Lawn Care LLC. He's been open for, 6 or 8 years. He's located off of 53, about 200 yards past the property he's purchased to move to. He sells landscape supplies, mulch, pine straw, and firewood. So he bought almost 7 acres from a lady to move his landscape supply from where he's at, just down the street and on the opposite side of 53.
Will he be closing the current location and
Yes.
moving everything?
He will.
Does he currently own the location that he's at?
No, he rents.
That's what I was, I understand. He's already closed from,
He's still open now.
but as far as this piece of property, he already owns
Yes,
it?
he's already closed on the purchase of this property.
I was thinking that he had. Any other questions of the applicant? Or the spokesman for the applicant, rather? Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you.
Is anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Is anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, at this time, we'll close it to the board for discussion. Gentlemen, do you have any discussion under moving the landscape business to a 7-acre piece of property on the side of Highway 53? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Moving to second, all in favor? Motion is carried. We will recommend approval to the Board of Commissioners, and they will hear, Board of Commissioners will meet and hear this on, sorry, on November the 19th. You and Mr. Velazquez will need to.
It would, our meeting, Board of Commissioners meeting start at 4 PM and the voting session just immediately starts after that. It's the new COVID schedule, so be here for on the 19th.
ZA 20-16, Jim King, OBO, Deborah Barnaby is requesting to rezone 0.8 acres of tax map parcel L08-115-004 from RA to RL residential lakefront, Nix Bridge Road. Someone here to speak for Jim King or Deborah Barnaby.
If I may, Chairman, Jim couldn't make it tonight and he asked if I could go ahead and just kind of run through the presentation.
Okay.
And then Ms. Barnaby's here to answer any additional questions, if that's
Okay.
all.
Ms. Barnaby, if you would, just write your name and address on the piece of paper there.
So
Mr.
currently,
Jameson, if you would present.
thank you. Currently, it is a roughly 9-acre piece of property. And that we were approached by the applicant before this, and they were basically asking, how can we want to split the piece of property and put a single-family home on it. Currently, in our future land use, it has this as residential lakefront. So this is what we recommended for Ms. Barnaby to rezone to residential lakefront in order to put the single family home on this piece of property. And the piece of property is, the split is looking to be 0.8 acres. And it's located on Nix Bridge Road.
Yes. Ms. Barnaby, where do you currently reside
Dawsonville,
inside the city limits?
over off of Nix Bridge Road.
Okay.
Miss Barnaby, if you could just remove your mask so they
Oh,
can
I'm
hear you.
sorry.
You're okay.
And what kind of house are you looking to construct?
3-bedroom, 2-bath. Not exactly sure of the size.
Okay. And have you closed on the property yet, or are you waiting on the
I have.
zone? You have closed on the property, okay. Are any further questions of the applicant? Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? If you would, please come forward. Write your name and address on the piece of paper there on the podium. And would you also
Good
please
evening.
state your name?
Danny Thompson. I am the current property owner that will be beside Miss Barnaby's section. Also sold the property to Miss Barnaby. We were fortunate enough to have 2 tracts of land there, 2 docks. You can only enjoy 1 dock at a time. Miss Barnaby approached us about buying the piece of property. It's a beautiful piece of land, and we look forward to her being our neighbor.
Thank you.
Take any questions?
Anyone else speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, anyone to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, at this time, we'll close the board for discussion. Gentlemen, any discussion on rezoning 0.8 acres to residential lakefront? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to recommend approval.
Second.
Moving second for approval. All in favor? Motion is carried. Once again, you will need to appear before the Board of Commissioners on November the 19th at 4 p.m. We are recommending approval. ZA 20-17, J.C. Jones is requesting to rezone tax map parcel 110-025 from RSR to RSRMM, residential sub-rural manufactured move for the purpose of moving in a stick-built home, Cothran Road. Someone here to speak for J.C. Jones. If you would, please come forward, write your name and address on the piece of paper there on the podium. Additionally, please state your name, sir. If you'll
J.C.
remove your
Jones.
mask so we can hear it.
Sorry. J.C. Jones.
Okay. And if you would tell us why you're needing a rezoning.
Well, it's got a trailer on it and I want to move that trailer and put I'm getting another house. I want to move it in for my son. And I think it's 65 foot long and I think it's 30 foot wide, or 29 foot, something like that.
And will the trailer remain, or are you completely getting rid of the trailer?
I'm going to get rid of the trailer.
Okay. Are you going to use roughly the same spot of ground where the trailer is
Yeah,
currently
about the
sitting?
same spot.
All right. And it's my understanding the house currently has brick on it. You're going to remove it.
Yeah.
Move it and then put on that cement siding, hardy plank siding?
Yeah, something like that. Hardy plank, put the brick, something like that on it. I ain't made up my mind yet on it.
All right. But you're wanting to use the same spot of ground essentially as the trailer is
Right,
currently on?
same spot.
Okay.
I got the well, septic tank. I'm gonna have to move my septic tank.
Any other questions to the applicant? Thank you, Mr. Jones.
You welcome.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? This time we'll close the board for discussion. Gentlemen, do you have any discussion on rezoning from RSR to RSRMM? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moving a second to approve. All in favor? Motion is carried. And Mr. Jones, you also will need to appear before the Board of Commissioners November the 19th at 4 p.m. And we did recommend approval. ZA 20-18, the Pacific Group Incorporated is requesting to rezone tax map parcel 106-053 and 106-052 from RS Residential Suburban to RS3 Residential Suburban 3 for the purpose of developing 183 residential lot subdivision Dawson Forest Road. Someone here to speak for the Pacific Group. If you would, please come forward, write your name and address on the piece of paper on the podium. Additionally, if you would, please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Ray Cunliffe. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm a partner at the Pacific Group, along with Kevin Seifert, who was before you recently at the end of 2019, requesting amendments to the conditions for zoning for what is now called the Woods at Dawson Forest. Sorry, the Woods at Dawson. Tonight, we are presenting the details of our application, requesting the rezoning of 70.15 acres that are adjacent and to the immediate west of the Woods at Dawson. Harmony, I don't know if it's possible. Is there a site plan you can put up on the screen? I think that'll help guide the discussion. Our goal has been and will continue to be to work with our neighbors in addition to working with the county as a whole. Currently, the 2018 comprehensive plan identifies this parcel in a suburban residential land use category. Due to availability of water and sewer, both of which are on site, and due to the fact that this land use type specifies in its summary statement that guidelines are provided to encourage pedestrian-friendly neighborhoods and adequate open space in such communities, we believe this property is well-positioned for an RS3 zoning. The use of the conservation subdivision in Article 10 will maximize the open space in our proposed development. At the time of the adoption of the 2018 comprehensive plan, there was not a RS3 zoning category. Therefore, the current comprehensive plan by default can include this district. The adopted amendment to this land use resolution on December 19, 2019 created the RS3 zoning district. To put it simply, we believe the RS3 category is applicable within the suburban residential land use category on its own merits. However, we have a much more compelling motivation for this board to approve the zoning request. We are proposing to establish an emergency-only entrance and exit to the north on Huckleberry Ford, thus removing the ability for any future homeowners living on these 70.15 acres from ever having access through country crossings to Grizzle Road. As currently zoned, the 61.15 acres on parcel 106053, which is, if you're looking at the site plan, it's the substantially larger parcel on the property. Could all be single-family residential, could permit 61 homes to be developed in a conservation design. Thus, the same size lots could be developed and homes could be built with no zoning conditions, and all 61 lots would have their only access through country crossings to Grizzle Road. This would add 61 homeowners who could use the existing amenities of country crossings. Should the county find our rezoning request worthy of approval, we're committing to conditions of zoning that would, 1, not allow any traffic through country crossings. 2, guarantee no additional homes would have access to the amenities of country crossings, including but not limited to the pool and tennis courts. And 3, provide minimum architectural conditions similar to those that were approved in the woods at Dawson. Our application included proposed conditions that cap the total number of lots at 183. We required that this community be designed as a conservation subdivision. It included a 100-foot exterior undisturbed buffer, as shown on the site plan in Exhibit C. It would include 13 architectural conditions to ensure the quality and maintaining consistency with the architectural conditions similar to those that were imposed on the woods at Dawson, and to also work with the Georgia Native Plant Society. We met with many homeowners within the country crossing community on September 9th to discuss this application. The restricted access through their community helped establish substantial support for our plan. While many from country crossing might want to see this plan approved, we appreciate that we have more neighbors than simply country crossings and other county residents who feel impacted. Thus, we have also listened to feedback from many outside country crossings. While we still contend the RS3 category is applicable within the suburban land use category on its own merit, we have listened to feedback from others and have, after careful consideration, want to add the following 5 additional conditions this evening to what we previously submitted. First, regarding density, we heard that spoke on tonight. Our proposed condition number 1 would limit the total number of homes to 183, which is a density of 2.6 units per acre. We have heard Commissioner Gaines and others comment on the need to lower or feather densities as we move away from 400. So this evening, we are willing to agree to reduce condition number 1 down to 153 lots, or a density of 2.18 units per acre. This would put us below the density at the Woods of Dawson next door, which is at 2.2 units per acre. Second is the addition of an amenity. We are open to the requirement of a pool, cabana, and playground as an amenity to what is now 153 proposed lots. Third, we are willing to increase the undisturbed buffer on the 61.15 acres shown on Exhibit C to 150-foot undisturbed acres. So as you can see on the site plan, there's on the 61.15 acre parcel, what is now shown as 100-foot undisturbed buffer on the exterior would be increased to 150 foot. Fourth, to provide deterrence from anyone accessing Country Crossings Recreational Association, Inc.'s common area to the north, the developer shall be responsible to construct a 4-foot tall, 4-strand barbed wire fence running the entire length of the northern shared property line with Country Crossings. Lastly, we want to express our understanding of the concern of increased financial costs to deliver services to new development that was brought up earlier this evening. The county has discussed at length the difference between tax revenues brought in by residential properties versus commercial properties. Since the location of our property isn't conducive for commercial use, we have come up with a way to offer additional financial support. If you're willing to recommend approval tonight, we're receptive to a condition that would require a contribution of $500 per lot at the time of building permit for additional support to deliver services as the county sees fit. In summary, we urge you to recommend approval to rezone these 70.15 acres this evening because one, our willingness and pride that we take in working with the community and leaders in areas we serve. Two, the merits of this proposal within the suburban residential land use category. Three, the support from many residents of Country Crossings. And number four, our willingness to include the 5 additional conditions that we proposed this evening. If this commission is willing to recommend approval and include in that recommendation to reduce the lot count to 153, the inclusion of an amenity, the increase in the undisturbed buffers on the 61.15 acre parcel, the fence discussed to help prevent access through to the Country Crossings amenity, and finally, the additional service contribution of $500 per home, we would be receptive to having those added to our conditions and our application. Before we reserve the rest of our time for any questions or to respond to any concerns from the public, we would like to urge recommendation tonight. We are aware that the DRI recommendations are not yet back from GMRC, but we expect them this week. To that end, we are receptive to a recommendation that includes a final condition that any recommendations in the DRI shall be the responsibility of the developer. This hopefully gives comfort to this commission to make a recommendation this evening. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kunloff. Is this property a part of the original Country Crossings property?
Yes,
Kinsey
sir.
Home?
I wish I could show it, the 61.15 acres to the northern kind of bigger chunk of it is, yes, sir.
Okay. And the 70 acre portion that you're discussing?
Yeah, so the additional, if I may just.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, this additional portion where the curse is on is not part of the Country Crossing community at this point. This was put under contract to gain access directly.
Right, okay. You have spoken with great eloquence about not allowing people in and out of Country Crossings if you were allowed 183 homes. What's to prevent you from not letting them in and out of Country Crossings with 61 homes?
With 61 homes, that's their only access. As currently planned and zoned, their 61 homes would have direct access.
Okay.
So I think part of this rezoning and application is to not have, I think access is shown there for emergency access only.
Okay.
So currently I think, and I don't know if this is answering the question, but currently is zoned that this 9-acre parcel is not part of the property.
Right.
So the only access currently is through Country Crossings to Grizzle Road.
Okay.
So when we met with the residents, that access not being there was an important thing to those residents.
Any other questions to the applicant?
Oh, yeah, on the smaller parcel that borders Dawson Forest Road, why did you choose to come in on the left side like that?
So that property could remain with the current owner.
Well, I mean, there's a chunk, you've got a piece to the right side of that piece that connects to Dawson Forest, don't you? Looks like there's a square cut out. Yeah, right there where the cursor's at.
Yeah, so that property is going to remain, and there's a little square to the left. Is that what you're saying as well?
No, Harmony, can you move that back to where it was? Right there. Why can't you have your access right there? Because you're not providing a buffer.
Would you like to speak, sir?
I'll give him a moment to speak, starting, if you would go ahead and answer the question.
That was to maintain the property there, so that property could remain with the current owner.
So you're not purchasing that piece where the cursor's at right there?
That's correct.
So are you just purchasing right of way to get to Dawson Forest?
That's right, and some property to the north of that, yes. Basically, we're buying right away, everything, where the cursor is, and then north of that, if the cursor can go, follow the right of way and then across to the east.
So are you wanting to rezone? Well, so you're rezoning part of the property you're not buying? Or is that additional? How many acres are on that parcel you're buying?
There's
Smaller.
9 acres.
And that doesn't include the big piece right there where she's showing it.
Let me see.
The reason I'm asking is because you've got the 150-foot buffer, but you're not giving a buffer at all to the west of where your driveway's coming in.
That's correct. That 150-foot buffer is proposed on the 61-acre parcel. So this right away here, there will not be 150-foot or 150-foot buffer on that entrance. And then it gradually gets bigger as we move north on the property.
So you're just buying access to, you're just gaining access to Dawson Forest.
Correct, yeah.
Have you had a traffic study done?
So that's in process.
Is there anything across the street from where your access is that you're lining up with? It's hard to see on this.
It's that little grocery store, but it's.
Because it's important
It's
that your
not.
curb cuts line up so you don't have, future development. If this development gets the curb cut, it sets the standard as curb
Where
cuts
the
across the
future ones.
street.
There's not currently a formal curb cut across the street.
So would you be able to purchase the property to access on the eastern side of that? To where you can give a buffer to both sides, the west and the east side?
I think we'd have to negotiate that further. Or look into that further.
The problem you're going to run into is this curb cut is establishing for a large development.
Mhm.
And that's establishing the future curb cuts for Dawson Forest.
Yes, sir.
I mean, because you're going to be the major curb cut.
Yeah,
So anything from here on, whatever development comes in across the street is going to need to line up with yours because of left turn lanes
yeah.
and left turn conflicting points. So your access to Dawson Forest is very important.
is where it goes. It needs to be part of the study as far as where that access on Dawson Forest goes.
Can you, why do you need the access to Dawson Forest? Can you not connect through the Oaks?
We could, I think just the timing of development though, I mean, that's, I think the idea was to have separate community, but I think that is.
Is it not, it's going to connect though, isn't it?
It will, yeah, and that's, again, the emergency access area, future emergency access.
But the emergency access runs north into Country Crossings, right?
Yes, and you'll, as you see on the site plan, there is a tie-in to the woods at Dawson as well.
Okay. But that's not going to be gated, correct?
There is a gate proposed. Which one's not going to be gated, sir?
The one going into the woods at Dawson, is that gated?
There's a gate proposed. I don't know if you can,
Yeah, I can't, it's hard to see on here, but.
is it possible to zoom in on that?
So the only access is off Dawson Forest, is that
That's
what
the
you're?
primary access, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions to the applicant? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? If you would, please come forward, write your name and address on the piece of paper there on the podium. And also, please state your name, sir.
My name's Gary Wildeboer. I'm the owner of the 9-acre parcel in the southwestern corner. And that includes the access from Dawson Forest Road. I'm also the trustee of the estate of my sister, or the trust of my sister, who just passed a month ago. And so this is all up in the air yet. That is the cutout square. Before my dad died back in the 90s, he cut out an acre around my sister's house. And that's the cutout square. And he left a 60-foot right-of-way down the western property line in case we ever wanted to sell off some of the back. And around the last week of August, the real estate agent showed up with his temperature needle on hot, wanting to buy my property and wanted to know if I would consider it. And I'm 73. I'm going to leave myself 4 acres in the buffer. And I've got to sell my sister's at some point. And I have been told that they are interested in buying that area, but that 1 acre. And, but right now there's nothing definite about it, but I will have to sell it at some point.
So as it stands, you've not sold your property to this group yet?
No, I have agreed to sell it.
Okay.
What they're buying from me is 5.04 acres according to their information. And
as far as what touches Dawson Forest, is it just that 60-foot strip that touches Dawson Forest?
That's only the 60-foot strip that connects with Dawson Forest, unless they also purchase the 1 acre that my sister's house is on.
So you would be keeping that other little square that.
The other square is approximately 4 acres.
Okay.
And that's me. It's paid for and I'm staying.
Understand. What did you used to teach?
Well, for the first 16 years, I was a high school, middle school band director.
Band director.
I took 6 years out to recover.
Okay.
And then did my last 14 years teaching elementary through elementary music kindergarten through fifth grade in Fulton County, Roswell.
So your first 15 was here in Dawson then, correct?
No, only the last 4.
On the last 4, okay.
That's why I needed 6 years to
I
recover.
understand. Thank you, sir.
So I can also clarify what's across from that entrance.
Okay, what's across from the entrance?
There's 2 duplexes that were put in without any zoning change or any notice. They were just built. And happened later. And it probably includes 1 individually owned house. I think it has a double wide on it.
Do you remember when those duplexes were put in approximately?
The 90s, late 80s, 90s, long time ago.
Thank you, Mr. Wilmore. Does anyone else speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, is anyone speak in opposition to the application? If you would, please come forward. Write your name and address on the piece of paper. Also, please state your name. Mr. Jameson, while he's writing, are we allowed to build subdivisions with a 60-foot right-of-way?
Build subdivisions with a 60-foot right.
60 foot of frontage.
60 foot of frontage. I thought we had to have 100 foot of right of way in order to have an access. Is a 60 foot right of way enough?
That is an excellent question, and I don't have a specific answer for you because I don't know what it is in the code, but I would assume that a 60-foot right of way would be in the analysis of the Public Works Department.
Okay. If you would, please look for that while I get back to this. All right. Thank you.
Bruce Dunsel.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Pacific Group, the gentleman, for his professionalism and also his obvious consideration of the community in terms of putting in this subdivision. I've not seen that from any other developer. I really appreciate that very much. I'm not going to speak directly in opposition to this. What I am going to propose is that based on the fact that the DRI is still outstanding, there's a traffic study in progress, there's still some question as to access and what the final details are going to be. I'm proposing that you consider tabling this until the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else speak in opposition to the application? If you would, please come forward, write your name and address on the piece of paper on the podium. Also, please state your name.
Taylor Atkins. I live at 214 Paddock Place, which is basically in this armpit area of this development. And I can go and tell you about the traffic that we already have. There's only 400, then there's Highway 9 to Hopewell, and then Highway 9 to Dawson Forest for people to come up here. On the weekends, Dawson Forest is a nightmare. I mean, it is atrocious. Now with all this other high density homes, like I mean, Country Crossings is a nice buffer, but we don't. I mean, what's to prevent them from coming into our neighborhoods? I don't understand how this is going to benefit or improve the quality of life for us in the county. I just don't want to see this county turn into Forsyth County. Seems to be getting there and can't go any further north because you'll still have to come back through all this. Yeah, I just really hope you guys take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. If you would, please come forward, write your name and address on the piece of paper in front of us.
Hello, folks. How are you? Hi, my name is Doug Hughes. I live at 184 Paddock Place. Once again, I'm Taylor's neighbor. And my big thing is traffic concern, and I don't mean to take up a lot of your time, but if you take a look at where their proposed is, If you go to the west, not even a half a mile, you have the Blacksmill School. If you turn out and go to the east or left, you have the Happy Store. It's a convenience store. You have a mechanic's garage there. Then you turn around and you have a subdivision on the right. You have the church in our street, Paddock Place. And you keep on going down, you have the county, let's see, it's a junction at Dawson County. It's a two subdivision across the street from each other. You keep on going down a little bit more and you're gonna end up having a scrapyard there. You're gonna have Red Rider Road, and then you turn around and you get to the new 55 and plus community that they're building over there. You're gonna have the preschool that's there. Then you have Macy Park, a new subdivision that went in, the Evans garbage disposal place right there. And then you turn around and you hit that little strip mall with a popular restaurant there. And that right there is 1.3 miles from where they're turning out to there. That's a lot of businesses and a lot of places to turn around. Like Taylor said, I mean, it's almost going to be like Highway 20 going down to that retail area down there. And they've already had to, redo the lanes to put in, what is it now, 4 lanes just to get in there when you get off 400. The other thing I want to talk about is environmental degradation. There is a lot of wildlife back there, okay? We have everything from pileated woodpeckers, numerous birds. We've got 22 turkeys that roam that area. We've got deer. We've got red foxes that run back there, occasional coyote, and a couple of black bears. That's just part of it. Then you're looking at the trees that help our air. And these guys are going to come in and strip this. That to me is just unbelievable. I don't even know if those lots perk out there. Across the street from us on Paddock Place, there was a Baptist church at one time, and they weren't supposed to sell any of those lots. Some shady minister, and I hate to say this, but some shady minister came in, got out of the Baptist organization, which meant now he can sell the lots, in which he did. We know that one of the lots across the street from us do not perk, and we don't even know if these things perk. And then the other thing is, I look at it this way. People say we're in a recession. I think that we're heading towards a depression. I've watched over in Forsyth County and other places here where they come in, they strip the land, and all of a sudden no one's buying houses and it just sits there, okay? It sat there for 10 years in most of the places before we got out of the recession. And I don't think that to turn around and take care of this land and just strip it and leave it until they're waiting for something. And I got to tell you, these ticky-tacky houses, we're on the small lots. I mean, we've got one at Macy Park. You've just built another subdivision up, the other subdivision that was built on Perimeter Road and Highway 9. How many more of these houses do we need here? I mean, all we're doing is selling out. I mean, and the guy says, oh, we'll pay an extra $500. That means that basically he's offering you guys $76,000, for what, a one-time deal? I'm really totally against this, okay? Thank you for your time.
Thanks, sir. If you would, please come forward. Write your name and address on a piece of paper. Additionally, please state your name.
Ken Ruffner. Do you want me to reference all these other developments again? I will if I need to. But
There's no need. I've wrote them down already. So.
okay. My house is right next to Taylor's, and that little corner notch there that shows the creek. Which I don't think that accurately represents where that creek is. Also, I don't understand why you have survey markers on my property and on Taylor's property for that matter. And no one from your group has reached out to me or, any of my other neighbors that I'm aware of, which I believe it states in this document here that they would, we've heard nothing from them. I agree with Doug. It's a beautiful area. There's all kinds of wildlife back there. We've even had some black bears back there, along with all the other things that Doug's listed, and I hate to see that go. But like I said before, all this high-density housing just going in everywhere with these tiny little houses just slammed in there 10 feet apart. You know, our roads are already crowded. This is going to do nothing but make it worse. We haven't seen a traffic study yet. You know, we already have trouble getting out of our neighborhood. You know, you're talking, you know, between 300 and 400 more cars with just this one development. On top of the other developments, the one going in there that's going to be adjacent to his, you know, what's that, another 400 cars? I don't know. You know, and then you got the Mancy Park and the one off Red Rider. We're just going to be overrun. That's not what I came up here for. I don't want to see this county turn into Forsyth County. I understand there's progress and there's development, but not this SR3 stuff with these little shoebox houses just slammed in there. I'd hate to see it. And with all these other developments, you know, where's it going to stop? You know, apartment complexes, townhomes, condos. Just, you know, it's just destroying our quality of life.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else speak in opposition to the application? If you have something new, you don't have to write your name, Bruce Central, I believe.
Bruce Dunsel. Yes, thank you. Thank you. As part of the tabling proposal, I would like to highly suggest that a study be done by the Planning Commission on the cumulative effects. We see the planning staff and in the appropriate cases, the region does their impact analysis for each individual development. But I think what you're hearing from the community is that we don't know what the cumulative impacts of all of these things are in terms of law enforcement, medical services, emergency services. We see bits and pieces of that, but what's missing is that comprehensive analysis of how are we doing this? The comprehensive plan and the land use is a guidance, and it's a wish list, if you will, at least from some perspective, as to what the county is moving toward. But what I don't see, and what I would appreciate being able to be to have visible, is what is the cumulative impact? Where's all the water going to come from once we have all these developments that are in process and that are pending approved? Where is all the sewage going to go? Where's the landfill requirements? Where's the electricity coming from? And as I mentioned, emergency service as well. So what I would really appreciate seeing is a comprehensive analysis of the cumulative effect of all of these developments. One brief example in the school systems, we know that we have certain capacity before we have to build new school buildings. But what we don't know is how much teacher capacity there are, or given the cumulative effect of all of the children that might be moving in these subdivisions, when will we be forced to build new school buildings? So that's just one example, but I would strongly encourage that a study comprehensively be done across the county as to what these impacts are. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. If you would, please write your name and address on.
My name is Beth Martin, and I actually wasn't even planning to speak this evening. I had come for the Etowah Village, or whatever it is called now. But listening to this presentation, along with what Bruce and everybody else has said about emergency services and overcrowding, two things stuck out to me that he mentioned. I don't understand how that's pedestrian friendly. Where are you going to walk once you get to Dawson Forest? And barbed wire fence, where are we living? Where's our quality of life? That we have a barbed wire fence to keep people separate? Surely there has to be a better option.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else speak in opposition? If you would, Mr. Moxon, please come forward, write your name and address on the piece of paper.
My name is Bob Michelson. I live on Dawson Forest Road in the bottom left-hand corner of that picture. I have 6 acres of land that shares a 950-foot property line with Mr. Wildeboard and will now share a 60-foot driveway without a buffer. And that to me is a problem. I have enough traffic noise from Dawson Forest Road that I don't need it coming up that side. So I would like to see that now 150-foot buffer extended down to Dawson Forest Road, moving that driveway over if he sells Miriam's property to them or whatever. 183 houses, 250 cars going down there every morning to get out, coming back in the afternoon, garbage trucks, UPS trucks, a lot of traffic. And that happens to be just about where my house is. Sits about 200 feet off the road. I don't know how far that 60-foot road, 60 to 300 feet, I would guess. Yeah. Unbuffered. So I would like to see a buffer put in there if I could.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, at this time we'll close it to the board for discussion. Any discussion on changing a piece of property that you can currently build 1 house per acre to allowing, oh, if you would, Mr. Kinley, were you able to find anything about a 6-foot right of way?
I was not. The minimum right of way for any right of way is the minimum is 30 feet. When we talk about neighborhoods, it just says that the streets and the right of ways are subject to public works departments, the public works director.
Under our original subdivision regs, what was constituted as a subdivision required a 100-foot right of way that when we first drew up our subdivision regulations.
That is quite possible.
Has that
But-
changed in any way? That would be under subdivision regulations.
Correct. In our subdivision regulations, I don't see anything. And if you want to, if I can obviously get that back to you after I discuss that with the public works director.
Okay, that'd be good if you would. We'll go ahead and proceed with our business, but hearing a 60-foot right of way just sticks out to me as a sore thumb, knowing that we used to have, whenever we first wrote up the subdivision regs, it was always 100-foot right of way minimum. Close to the board for discussion. Gentlemen, do you have any discussion on?
The current zoning would be how many units per acre?
One
One.
house per acre, 61 houses, I believe he's put in his presentation that you could currently put on there versus 183 that they're proposing, with sidewalks and they'll get an amenity now and a pool, and they won't have to go driving across their neighbors to use their neighbor's amenity.
Okay.
But for the quality of life for everyone else in Dawson County, we need to consider prior to recommending rezoning for R3. He can currently have 1 house per acre as it is. If he's allowed on a 60-foot right of way, which I don't believe he is, and if Mr. Wilbur does sell to him, sells Miriam's house as well, or whatever, then it can be done using that piece of property, and that additional 5 acres would allow for an additional 5 homes, so to speak.
Well, I think we need more information, the traffic study, and give them an opportunity to look at the access on Dawson Forest. I think we probably ought to table it.
I'd like to include that the traffic study needs to include the roundabout at Dawson Forest and Lumpkin Campground as a part of that study. Also, the study include traffic distribution to determine best location for the curb cut. And if it, if it makes more sense for them to go through the woods, the existing versus Dawson Forest, or have both accesses open for distribution of that traffic. And I also think the density is too high for what we're trying to do, closer to 400 or further away from 400. We want a higher density or lower density per acre.
I agree with pretty much what y'all said. I think we need a little more information on it if they're not, it's up in the air about the entrance there, and I would like to see what they could decide with the gentleman that's going to maybe sell the other property to give the gentleman to the left another buffer if it does go in, because that's, I mean, that is right on his property line. That's a, there's nothing there.
That being said, is there a motion?
Motion to table until the November meeting.
Second.
Moving second to table until the November meeting. All in favor? Motion is carried. This decision will be tabled until the November meeting, which will be November 16th. No, wait a minute.
17th.
November 17th? November 17th. Okay. All interested parties will need to show back up on November 17th, 6 o'clock, same location. The planning commission is 17th, yes. Next item on the agenda, 2021 submittal and meeting dates. They are in the back of your booklet. You had a chance to look over them. Do we need a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
Is there any amendment? Okay, motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving a second to approve. All in favor? Motion is carried 4-0. Updates by planning and development. Mr. Kimball.
We do not have any updates at this time.
What do we have coming up next month?
An excellent question.
And a question we should have asked before we tabled and thrown something on next month.
We can always table it again.
There are 4 current rezoning applications and a variance, RS2 and RS3, that we will see. So.
We can always table some more. Okay.
And the last item is L, adjournment. This time, gentlemen, you are adjourned.